In 2017, Conference USA will add another team to its football lineup, but it's not a new team. It's going to be UAB as they return back to the Conference USA landscape in football, and the coach, once again, will be Bill Clark. My brother, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Let's go back, because it's been an interesting, shall we say, couple of years.
Yep.
When you got the call saying football's done, what's the first thing that went through your mind?
Coaches, players, what do we do with those guys? They're going to need jobs and scholarships, and so that was the first worry.
Did you ever lose faith that this program could resurrect?
Oh yeah, I think there was days when I said, there's no way, but I think, as we said, the Lord's got a plan, and I think through all that, there were those days that were down and up. Somebody was picking me up. Somebody was saying the things that we are coming back, we're working on it, and so it was not always real clear what was going on, but I did have faith that it was heading in the right direction.
I think one of the things people have to understand is the program obviously was making great strides, and when the season ended, everybody was so optimistic for the coming year, and I think that added to the disappointment.
I think so. When you get bowl eligible for the first time in 10 years, and we got most of the pro guys coming back the next year, that obviously there was a lot of optimism, and then so when that happened, it just made it that much worse.
How difficult was it? You mentioned you did become bowl eligible, but yet you were snubbed on the bowl, and I think snub's a good word on that. And it was almost like, we're not going to give them a bowl because we know they're not going to be back next year. Did that hurt?
It did, and then I always think about, okay, what's the reality here? And we were having to send guys out who couldn't wait. They had to go on visits. I mean, how crazy that is. They're going on visits. So I don't know what kind of team we would have had. Maybe it was for the best. Of course, I would have liked to have that opportunity. But, you look back in hindsight and say, hey, we were sending guys. What kind of team would we have had anyway?
So now you take basically a year off where, you're saying I'm going to have to get back into the market pretty soon here. Then the drum beat starts beating a little louder, and you have this sense that the team's coming back.
Right.
Did you have to temper your enthusiasm and say, it's not sure yet?
Yeah, I think so. I think we had to look at reality from having gone through that situation. And let's go back. What brought me to UAB was what this thing could be. Birmingham and this great football market, this university that's a top 30 university in the country. So that was still there. Now, would the people get behind it? And that's what I needed to hear. So as these guys say, Coach, we'll do this if you stay. And I said, well, I'll come back if we do it right. So it was, I needed to hear that. I needed to see it. And really it was coming from June all the way forward, there's been steps taken every day to where we are now, which is phenomenal.
Let's talk about the fact that this program is going to do it right. And you and I were just chatting, and one of my great memories, walking into your office when you were your final year as head coach, and the plans for all the practice facilities, because the facilities, to be honest with you, are not up to Division I standards. But seeing those plans and how proud you were, now that's going to become reality.
I think that's the key to this whole deal, was in June when we said, all right, what's it going to take? So first there was this budget shortfall that they reached before I even came back. Then it was, what's it going to take to build a facility that competes nationally? And that's why I say, Birmingham UAB can be a national team. We needed an operation building, which covers all the things: the training room, the locker room, the kitchen, the weight room, and all that. Then we needed a space in inclement weather, because we don't even have the gym on campus is a PE gym. So now we're going to have this building. We're going to have this covered turf practice field. Wow. Then we're going to have 2 more fields that come off that, and so we're going to be as good as any of our peers, around the country.
And the construction starts ASAP.
Yeah, we're talking within 2 weeks. We'll start, and then we have an official groundbreaking at the end of August. But literally, you'll see shovels in the ground next couple weeks.
And then the next, obviously, step would be a stadium.
That's right. And I think one of the best things, we decided at UAB as a group, we said, we don't need to fight that fight right now. The Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center, the city, the county all realize, Legion Field has been unbelievable. It's historic, but it's time. So as citizens of our city, we knew we needed something, and now the positivity on that is unbelievable. I believe we'll be getting that announcement soon. We're just having to work through the process of all these groups coming together.
Well, it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. And knowing you the way I do, you're a half full glass kind of guy. Yes, the program went under, but now you've got a clean slate.
Right.
You can start from scratch and build this program the way you want it done. Talk about getting the players that you want right now.
So one of the things we made a decision on early was, and I had some time to think, what do we do when we come out there and we play these guys with juniors and seniors and redshirt seniors? We had to get older, so we made the decision to go to the junior college ranks early on. And we looked for those guys that we were fit for. Other guys were looking at them, and maybe they said, we don't want to take a chance on this guy who's coming off a knee injury, or academically he's not where he's at. Now, you're going into a top 30 university, so we didn't want to take character problems, just some guys that maybe had not made great academic decisions. So that's how we recruited. Recruited a few high school guys this year. Now, when we get this 60 guys in, we've got a great walk-on class. Next year, we're really looking hard at high schools to build it from the bottom up.
Did you talk to any other coaches that have done this? The Brad Lamberts, for instance,
Right.
Larry Coker when he was at UTSA, Jim Levitt, South Florida.
Sure.
Did you reach out to any of these coaches and say, do you have any pieces of advice for me?
Yeah, I think once again, that's that A to Z approach. One, I'm an old high school coach.
Yeah,
and so I had to build, Prattville was one of those, build it from the ground up to a national team. I went to South Alabama in 2008, if you remember. We started that program from nothing. Then I did do research. I remember when Jim, I was talking to him when he was at K-State and he went into South Florida. I spent a week with him there. So whether it's Bobby Wild or Oda Dominion, whether it's Brad at Charlotte, all those guys, and just like a good coaching clinic, you take bits and pieces from each one of those guys and put it in your situation. So yes, I have.
Every player, though, wants to play games. And to keep players motivated, and I had this discussion with Larry Coker, I think right before they actually start playing games, so by keeping the players motivated and keeping what he used to call the eye on the prize.
Yep.
What have you done to try to let these players know, yes, you go through spring practice, we're going to go through fall practice or whatever, you're not going to play games, but there's still something down the road?
I think it's a constant motivation of who are you playing for. And we talk all the time, yes, you play intrinsically for yourself, but you're playing for this family. You're playing now for this community who, and I say this all the time, everywhere I go somebody's thanking me for what we had faith in them. And so I said, you're playing for this community, which is really bigger than just football. It's it's bigger than the game itself. And that's something we got to keep putting in front of these guys and remind them this is what you're working for. And we're going to look up, and it's going to be December and January, and we're like every other program in the country.
But doesn't it also have to do with the type of player you recruit, that you've got to have players that can handle that situation?
Yeah, and I think it's a more mature guy. It's a guy that says, well, I'm blessed to be here. Maybe I was this guy that was kind of well known and I didn't do what I needed to do academically, and I had to go make my own way in the junior college world, which can be a tough world, and now you're getting a second chance. You're getting a chance to rewrite your own history. And so I think it's those guys. So yeah, that's exactly right. We're looking for those guys that I get this great degree, I get to come in trained up at 17, and then let's see what happens.
So spring practice this year, what was the focus point of spring practice? Fundamentals?
Yeah, I think just as much, and I talk to strength guys all the time about strength training in of itself is not the end all, but it's important. Safety, how strong, how fast, but it's this, I know how to put my foot behind the line, and every time, the discipline. Well, that's the same thing in the spring. This is how we want to practice. This is how we are. And then I realized pretty quickly we got 57 guys, so it's kind of hard to run tempo offense with 57 guys. But that's where it really, excuse me, as we move into August, we had this normal June and July. We said, hey, we're going to train just like we're playing September 2nd or September 3rd. They've handled that. Now, come August, we're going to have a normal camp. So now, September, October, we're going to back up some. But I want them to see this is what it takes, and hopefully that'll bind them together.
When you saw the success some of your former players had, and I can think of one running back, did that make you feel good?
It did. I live vicariously through him, and as I say, you're in the family. That doesn't change. So, I think for me, it was kind of, you want to say proof in the pudding. Yeah. And some of the best stories that people don't even talk about are those guys that, I've had coaches come and said, hey, you got these three guys here, and they called a team meeting and said, this is not how we do it. And I kind of, I think those guys at UAB were so hungry for some positivity, and then when they got it, they really became believers in what it takes and being together in a family. And so, I lived through all of them.
One final question. What did all this teach you? Not just football-wise, but about yourself, your family, everything else, something beyond football. Did it teach you anything?
Yeah, I think it is really that is we're sitting here saying we've raised almost $40 million in a year over at a place that didn't really care supposedly, so it's amazing what happens when good people get together and get in the same voice, and what can happen in a community. So faith can kind of get thrown around a lot, but you just gotta have faith.
Well, I hope in 2017 when you kick it off at home, I get to do the game. That would
we
be an
want you
honor, my
there.
friend, because I have been living this with you, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Appreciate you.
Good. We'll be back with more from Conference USA Media Day after this.